Hello, this is Victor at HistorioMercedes.com. This video is for Jose in Texas, and I'm going to have to make this video with a cell phone because it's late and I can't really put my tripod and everything on. So anyway, the motor was completely dead. I mean, the brushes were destroyed, and that of course had to be replaced. Also, the membrane for the vacuum circuit was leaking. I polished it off and I got it to leak very little, which in this case is going to be okay because the pump is on actually right now. When the engine is going to run, it's going to create vacuum, so it's going to overcompensate way more than the leak is, so it's not going to be an issue, because that was the only solution. That's the only thing I could have done with it. And actually, it's even as it is, it's not going to be a problem because it does not cycle as often as problematic pumps do. So right now, as you can see, the power is on, LED light. Well, we have the voltage is at 14, was it 13? Okay, we'll get 14 volts. So the pump is on. Vacuum circuit first. As you can see, that's vacuum circuit. So I'm gonna close it. Pump shuts off. Pressure circuit. That's pressure right there. We'll try to. That's our pressure circuit. That's our pressure reservoir. Very nice and tight, as you can see. Pumped it up well. Next thing we're probably going to do this port right here. I have my gauge connected to it at the moment. So this port does two jobs. HFE-KEF. This port works headrests if it's S420 or S320. S500 will have electric headrests, but this one is still on the vehicle. So what we're gonna do is we need to check on the gauge to see, to look for actual vacuum. Vacuum will be going to the left, pressure will go to the right. As you can see, negative, that's vacuum, and regular pressure. So that port does headrests. It also does trunk release. Okay, so trunk release, when it pops the trunk open, then it will create pressure. So let's connect. First we're going to do headrests. So I'm gonna show you the actual gauge more. I gave it, what did I do? Okay, yeah, that would be vacuum. Yes, so that's vacuum to get headrest to actually fold back. Okay, so that's vacuum circuit. The vacuum is very healthy. It's actually over 0.5, which is good because the spec is about 0.5. Now we're going to do pressure. The pressure is going to go the other way, and that will be our trunk release. It also does other circuits over there to actually unlock the trunk. So before it releases it, of course, it has to be unlocked. So that might be a dual actuation, doesn't matter. You'll get it. Let's see which one I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually did the handle, I'm sorry. So trunk release, here we go. This is the trunk release. So it's very difficult to make this video with actually one hand, so I usually have tripod set up just for that, so I can work with two hands. As you can see, the pressure on the trunk release is really high. It's actually very good. Okay, so we have trunk release, we have headrests. Next thing we're going to do SFG port. SFG port is actually our trunk handle. So again, pardon my delays here because one hand operation is not easy. Okay, so we connected the gauge to our SFG port. That will be our trunk handle. Let's see, trunk handle. I'm looking at a diagram right now. Let's just see which one. Okay, so here we have it. It's this port right here. That's the vacuum circuit. It pumps the vacuum. Okay, so this is the trunk handle. It just pushed the handle out. Once I let go of the power, it pulled handle back in. So one more time, touch the terminal, push the handle out, pulled handle back in. So that circuit works well. For door locks, we're going to use, let's just use the trunk port. HD is our trunk port, and this is a 9899 version pump. So we have alternating vacuums and pressures jumping around these ports. So I just plug them up real quick just so I can show you the operation. Okay, so lock and unlock. Of course, we'll look at the gauge just to see. Vacuum at maximum 0.6, which is great, 0.6 bars. That equals to about what, 16, 17 psi. That's our pressure. That's about, we get it up to 10 psi about, which is actually above the spec, which is great. So we know that lock and unlock works well. One more time. Sorry for the cables. That is vacuum, and let me get the pressure reading. That's the pressure reading, as you can see. It's a pressure reading and the vacuum reading. So as we can see that the pump activates and works perfectly fine. No problems with it. The motor is not super hot at all, just lukewarm. I can touch the motor. After all these operations, I can totally touch not the motor but the actual pump. If there would be a problem, then I could have not hold my hands on it. It would have been overheated. So this is totally fine, meaning I can touch it, no problems. So this pump is basically good to go. Other circuits I'm not really testing because they alternate. Well, okay, fine. Let's just test one more circuit. Let's just test the door lock circuit. The reason why I don't test the other ones is because the other ones show less pressure, because by the time the gauge reads, it switches over to another set of circuits. Therefore, you don't have high reading on the gauge. So for that reason, I actually test the trunk because it's switching over to the trunk. Alright, so let's see. That's our vacuum. As you can see, the gauge jumped. You could not even see that it jumped to where it needs to jump. It does not read as fast as it should be. But even at this particular test, it gets to about 0.3 bars, and that's actually already within the spec. But in reality, it jumps over to 0.6 bars. So there's a big difference. So therefore, I do test the trunk circuit because it's a long story. It's like the valves switch over, and by the time they switch over, the pump is already creating pressure. The pressure is on the manifold, and then when it switches over to the trunk circuit, then the pressure is already high, and then the reading is higher because the gauge has already been moved and stuff like that. So anyway, this is perfectly working pump. I have no problems with it, and I'm sorry for choppy video and kind of like bizarre plugs and all that, but I just wanted to make this tonight. And I can actually leave it energized overnight. It's about 11 p.m. at night now. I've been busy, a lot of work. So I can actually leave it overnight and then I can expect it in the morning. But again, I don't have any issues with it anymore. The motor was completely burnt. And actually, I'm going to give you one more reading with my thermometer, just to show you the readout of the vane, the actual pump. So here we have it. It's at 80. Well, we got 92, 106, 110. That's at the motor. Still not too bad. 87 at the pump, but still it's at 107. I can touch the motor still. As you can see, I'm not being burnt, so that's actually pretty good. Well, human body temperature is like what, 97, 98, so pretty good. And that's after testing the pump for quite a little bit. Obviously it's going to get warm, but it's not catastrophic at all. I did run the motor before I put it back together, obviously, because I didn't want it to overheat and seize up. See, what happened just now is actually the that vacuum circuit that I told you about, that low membrane. But again, once this particular port is going to receive vacuum from the engine, and that's what it does receive vacuum from the engine, it's going to counterbalance this reactivation of the pump. It reactivates once in like a couple of minutes, so that's totally fine. It's not cycling as often as bad ruptured diaphragm is, so this is okay. And again, I polish them off, I grind them down, the seat and the actual membrane, so we're actually in good shape. Just to show you, no, that's not a good, okay, well anyway, that was a different one. Well anyway, that's a different manifold. Okay, long story short, boring video, I know, but this is it. It's all done, ready to go. I'll leave it on the bench, let it sit overnight. In the morning, pack it up, and it will be ready to go. Again, this is Victor at RestoreMercedes.com. This video is for Jose in Texas, and this is a 9899 S-Class Mercedes door lock pump, also known as PSC pump. Thanks for watching.